Hi everybody, TJ Mack of Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here. Now today I'm going to discuss my 2025 collecting goals and why they matter. Now when I think about this hobby, it's not just about the cards, it's about the memories, the stories, and their connection to sports history. Now setting goals each year, it helps me stay focused and ensures that collecting remains fun and meaningful and balanced. Now, just like in the past, my goals this year, they're going to serve as a compass to point me in the right direction. While I strive to move my collection in a certain way, for the most part, I don't target specific cards, with a few exceptions, which I'm going to share in detail in a moment. But the first goal that I have this year is staying within my budget. And one of the most important things for me is maintaining financial responsibility. Collecting is a joy, but at the end of the day, it's just a hobby. It's not something that should interfere with my family, my financial stability, or other priorities in my life. Now in 2024, I came in $33 under budget for the year. It's not a huge number, but it's a reminder that I'm keeping this hobby in its proper place. Now for 2025, I've decided to increase my budget by about 10%, which is the first increase in the last couple of years. Now for me, sticking to a budget keeps the hobby enjoyable. It's not about chasing every card, it's about making thoughtful, meaningful additions to my collection. My second goal is to keep the number of items I acquire between 65 and 130. In my last video, I said I added 107 items in 2024. Well, I actually added a couple additional cards, bringing my total to 109, which was 97 cards and 12 magazines. In 2023, I added 105 items, broken out between 96 cards and 9 magazines. It's pretty amazing that the cards and magazines I added in both years were so close in number. So it's pretty safe to assume I'll be somewhere in that range again in 2025, just given my budget and what I'm looking for. Now my third goal this year is to set aside some of my monthly budget to buy 2 or 3 more expensive cards. Now I want to set aside about maybe $100 a month to save up to get a couple cards that I'm looking for that I normally wouldn't be in my price range, because I like to typically buy cards in the $25 to $200 range. That tends to be where a lot of the cards that I look for reside. But I know in order to continue to buy some of the bigger cards that I have on my list, I'm going to have to set some money aside. So this year I'm looking to add maybe 2, if not 3 cards from the short list that I've put together at this time. And the cards on this list include a 1959 Topps Gordie Howe, a 1953 Parkhurst Gump Worsley rookie, either a 1948 or 1949 Leaf card of Sammy Baugh, a 48 or 49 Leaf card of Bobby Lane, and then a 1958 Topps Mickey Mantle and Hank Aaron card. There are a few others that I have on the list as well, but I just wanted to share those. Like I said, I'm not going to get all of those this year, but these are cards that I have targeted that I'd love to add to my collection. Now the ones I will get will likely come down to whether I have the money at the time and if the price is right given the card that I'm looking at. My fourth goal is to add at least 12 magazines to my collection this year. I met this goal in 2024, and I believe I'll meet or exceed it in 2025. Magazines remain a relatively small part of my budget. In 2024, the 12 magazines I added accounted for only about 6% of my card budget. While I could see that possibly increasing as I might add a couple more expensive issues, I don't see it going much higher than 10% of my 2025 budget. Now, magazines continue to be one of the areas collecting that I really enjoy because they allow me to appreciate my cards more and have introduced me to players I probably wouldn't normally add due to my limited knowledge of contemporary stars from the 50s, 60s, and 70s who may not be as popular today. Now, the magazine I'm showing here was generously gifted to me from Dre and Mrs. Diaz, and I'm going to put a link to their channel below. They make such awesome, well-produced videos, and they're a very generous couple. Now, this magazine is a 1947 Sport, and it's featuring the Bentley brothers, Max and Doug, who are both in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Now, Max played center from 1940 to 1954 with the Blackhawks, the Maple Leafs, and the Rangers. He led the league in points twice, in 1945 and 1946. And Doug played from 1939 to 1954 as a left winger with the Blackhawks and Rangers. He led the league in goals twice and assists 2 more times. And what's interesting about them is that along with their brother, Reg Bentley, they're the only trio of family members to record a goal and 2 assists on the same scoring play. It happened on January 1st, 1943, when Reg scored his first and only NHL goal, and Max and Doug assisted on it. It was during World War II, and the rosters of the NHL, their teams were just decimated, and Max and Doug convinced the Blackhawks to sign Reg, who ended up only playing 11 games in his career. What I also love about this magazine is the detail on the ice on the cover. You can see the blade marks. It's just such a beautiful magazine to look at. And I once again want to thank Dre and Mrs. Diaz for the gift. My 5th goal is to continue to heavily focus on my 50s and mid-60s hockey card collection. In 2023, I added only 7 cards from this time frame. I more than doubled that number in 2024 by adding 18 cards between 1953 and 1967, including this beautiful 67 Topps card of Bernie Boom Boom Geoffrion, looking a little out of place, I think, in his Rangers uniform. Now, on the back of the card, it states, after starring with the Montreal Canadiens for 13 seasons, Bernie quit active hockey to coach the Quebec Aces for 2 years. Now, the Rangers, they talked him out of retirement last year, and this colorful veteran responded by becoming the Rangers' leader on the ice almost overnight. Now, this is Boom Boom's last card as an active player. Now, Geoffrion is one of the greatest players to ever play for the Montreal Canadiens, and he was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1972. And I just love this hockey card design, and it fits in nicely with the 2 others I have from this set, Gordie Howe and Johnny Bucyk. Now, in 2025, I'm likely going to add at least 25 cards from the 50s into the mid-60s in hockey. My 6th goal for this year is to add some 1965 Topps Tallboy football cards to my collection. Now, this one's kind of an interesting goal for me because I stated in the past that I do not buy cards that are in larger graded card holders. I used to own some basketball cards in the past, and I had a small group of stars and Hall of Famers from the 1965 Topps football set, which is better known as the Tall Boys, of course, and I ended up selling them at auction. I really didn't miss them too much until I added this 1973 Topps Lance Alworth during the summer. I hadn't shown this card on my channel yet, but this gives me Alworth's complete base run from 1963 to 1973, except for the 1965 Topps Tallboy. I still was on the fence on whether I wanted to add this card to my collection, but then a couple weeks ago, my friend CK from the channel The Cincinnati Kid gifted me this stunning Tallboy of quarterback Tom Flores, who was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame as a coach in 2021. Now, CK had bought this card ungraded, and he sent it to me after getting it graded by SGC. And I'm just humbled that he would give this card to me. It's just a beautiful addition to my collection, and it's my first Tom Flores card, and it's going to be part of my AFL collection. Now, CK is a supporter of many channels in this community, and he also has a great channel himself. He collects mainly vintage baseball, football, and has some hockey as well, and also adds some modern cards to his collection. I'm going to add a link to his channel down below, and I really encourage you to check it out. He also sent me a couple other cards that I'm going to feature in another video when the time is right. Now, getting back to Flores, he has a very important place in NFL history. He played quarterback for the Raiders and the Bills, and also the Chiefs from 1960 to 1969. And he's one of the few players that played in the AFL throughout his entire existence. He was a pretty good starting quarterback. He started 68 games, and he finished with a record of 31, 33, and 4. He ranks 5th all-time in passing yards in AFL history, and he made a Pro Bowl in 1966. But what made him a truly historic figure in the game is that he was the first Hispanic starting quarterback in professional football when he started a game from the Oakland Raiders in 1960. He was also the first Hispanic head coach to win a Super Bowl, and the first person to win Super Bowl titles as both a player and a coach. He was also the first wildcard team to win a Super Bowl when he guided the Raiders to the Super Bowl championship over the Eagles in 1980. Now, overall, Flores won 2 Super Bowls as a head coach, both with the Raiders. And this is just a great addition to my collection. So I want to thank you, CK, for the card and for reigniting my interest in the Tallboy cards. I hope to add the Allworth and maybe a few others in 2025. My 7th goal is to just have fun picking up cards that appeal to me. The average price I paid for a card in 2024 was about $35, with many being well under that. I have a lot of fun finding cards of guys who are not necessarily in the Hall of Fame, but were great or interesting players in their day. Now, a good example of this is this 1948 rookie card of Allie Reynolds. I have become more fond of black and white photography, and this is a pretty good example. There's a fair amount of contrast between the dark and light areas, and I think that the absence of color makes you focus more on the image and details of the uniform. I'm also fond of the player and think he should be in the Hall of Fame, given his outstanding World Series record, which I don't think gets enough credit. Another card that I added was this 1978 Topps Greg Landry card. Now look at the pink color inset that frames this absolutely wonderful photo showing the game day realism that was becoming more prominent with photography in the 1970s. Now this photo, it even goes a step further, capturing the muddy field conditions that you will no longer see in today's era of perfectly manicured fields. Landry looks to have just finished a throw as his lineman lies in a pool of mud, presumably exhausted from navigating this awful terrain, play after play. Now, based on my research, this game was likely played on December 4th, 1977 in Green Bay. The Packers had prevailed 10-9, with Landry finishing 14-25 for just 115 yards passing and 2 interceptions. It's cards like this, along with the others in my collection, like this 1962 Jake Gibbs and this 1955 Breezy Reed, that captures players who may not have been superstars, but it's these cards that are visually stunning that are based on an image, a photo, or design element that draws the eye in. My eighth and final goal for 2025 is to continue to improve the quality of my videos with audio, music, and editing enhancements. I've enjoyed showing display cases in my card room because it gives you, the viewer, an idea of how my collection is comprised, what I see when I walk around my card room, and the feeling inside when I look at my cards. I also plan on doing more sharing of my magazines and how they connect with my cards. But I want to improve my presentation to enhance your viewing experience. The technical part of video making is not my strong suit, but I want to push myself to be better at it. Even though I've been making videos the past few weeks, it's because I haven't been traveling and have been taking some vacation time. Ideally, I want to put out only 2 to 3 videos a month, which will give me time to improve my video quality, as well as spend time enjoying my collection without the weekly pressure of putting out videos. It's just that balance that I'm still working on getting to. So those are my collecting goals for 2025. I want to know in the comments, if you don't make videos, what your collecting goals for 2025 are. And I'd like to also hear maybe what you're working on in your collection. As always, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you had a great Christmas or whatever holiday it is that you celebrate, and we will talk again soon.